line. Bad bitches, every city in my tribe. Look behind. Booty dominate.
Hello, welcome.
I appreciate you letting me on. Yeah, pretty much disagree with you categorically across the board as far as your list goes.
Okay. What do you want to talk about?
Pro-choice. Well, actually, we can talk about all of them if you like.
Okay. We haven't had an abortion debate yet. Sure.
Well, speaking as
Go
somebody
right
who's never, as far as abortion goes or whatever, I don't see the upside of killing babies.
I don't think it's ethical to force someone to sustain pregnancy.
Why not? You're killing somebody.
Just the same reason why we don't force people to donate blood, bone marrow, or kidneys. We don't, no one has the right to use someone else's body to sustain their life.
Yeah, but you also don't have the right to kill people. Like, we have laws against that. It's illegal to murder people.
Well, I would argue that abortion's not murder.
Well, do you
And
believe
if
in the death
someone,
penalty?
what?
Do you believe in the death penalty?
No.
Well, that's what you're doing.
Well,
You're
no, I
you're
don't think the
stuffing out
state.
life before it has a chance to do anything.
Okay. The reason I don't believe in the death penalty is I don't think the state should have that power. That doesn't correlate to abortion.
It does correlate to abortion because you're ending a human life.
Right, because it's using my body against my will.
It's not using your body against your will. You willingly engaged in an act where you got pregnant. You are not
Just,
an if you were
just
you're not an
because,
unwilling participant in that act, are you
well,
not?
in sex, sure, but not in pregnancy.
We all know that sex leads to pregnancy if precautions are not taken.
Even when precautions are taken. But just because you engage in sex, I don't think you have an obligation to sustain pregnancy.
You're welcome to believe that, but it still does not make the point any less moot that you're killing a child.
Well, it does, because you haven't established why I have an obligation.
There's laws in place that protect children. You cannot kill children. Abortion kills children.
So, when we talk about abortion, if I just define this as the deliberate termination of pregnancy, if I deliberately terminate my pregnancy at let's say 35 weeks, and I just get induced and give birth, does the fetus die?
When you're talking about inducing yourself intentionally,
Yeah. It's called an induction abortion.
well, yeah, if you force yourself to have it, and it's like throwing yourself down a flight of stairs intentionally. The outcome
Well,
is the same, and the intention is the same.
I said 35 weeks. So if I do this at 35 weeks,
What does 35 weeks have to do with?
how long is pregnancy?
I have no idea. I've never been pregnant.
Oh my God. Thank you for the gift. Pregnancy is 40 weeks.
Okay.
So if I do this at 35 weeks, the fetus will survive, is my point. So it is not the removal from the uterus that kills it. It's the fact that it can't sustain itself outside the womb.
Okay, and that's the same thing as if you were to have an abortion at 10 weeks. You're killing the child.
Well, I would say that it causes it to die, but it's not the
If I put
direct
you in the
reason.
vacuum of space, you would immediately die. And that would be relatively the same thing as you having an induction abortion, in your words.
No, it wouldn't, because no human can survive in space. But if I
How many
remove the
induction?
fetus, one
How many?
second, one second. If I remove the fetus at 10 weeks and I remove the fetus at 38 weeks, there are two different outcomes. And it's not because the environment has changed, it's because the fetus's capacity to sustain itself has changed.
How many induction abortions have resulted in a viable baby?
I don't know. I haven't counted all the induction abortions that happen. But if they happen in the
Would you
first
say it's
trimester,
likely to be zero? The
huh?
same amount of people that would live the same amount of people would live in outer space as the same amount of babies that would live from a forced
I don't know
abortion.
why you're talking about outer space, because you've just given an environment where no one can survive. And if we talk about removing the fetus, it's not the environment that kills
Let me
them.
draw the parallel
It's
for
the
you.
ability.
The baby develops in your womb, and it cannot be sustained outside the womb. That
It
is the
can.
correlation I'm
It
making.
can. Depend.
The baby is
It can.
designed, huh? You
Babies
just
live outside the womb all the time. What do you mean?
Yeah, and they're put in incubators and they're put in ICUs and they're put in all sorts like iron lungs, crazy stuff to keep them alive after the
Not all
fact.
of them. No, not all of them.
Just about. Would you
Well,
say?
when I gave birth, mine was fine. What?
We're talking about the abortions. We're not talking about preemies, people that
Right.
want
So
to keep
so
their baby.
I'm trying to show you why your analogy doesn't work, because you've given an environment where no one can survive. And I'm telling you that if I remove the fetus at 10 weeks and if I remove the fetus at 38 weeks, it's not the fact that it's the environment where no one can survive is. It's the fact that it's not developed to sustain its own existence. So it's not that I'm removing it that kills it. It's its own lack of development that is the reason it's dying.
You're basically describing the difference between a person in outer space and a person in a spacesuit in outer space. You can live in an environment that's hostile to you or whatever, but when you take away the thing that's keeping you alive, then you die. And that's what you've done in an induced abortion. You've taken away the atmosphere in which the baby can thrive and
That's
develop.
not necessarily true, because if you do that late enough in the pregnancy, the fetus survives.
It's not called an abortion for no reason.
So I'm using abortion as in a medical term. Yes, abortions happen where the fetus survives.
I'm kind of confused what you're arguing about now.
I'm trying to tell you that it's not the removal from the uterus that necessarily kills it. It's the fact that it cannot sustain its own bodily processes. Because if I remove it at 10 weeks, it dies. But if I remove it at 35 or 38 weeks, it lives. So I'm saying that
Well, obviously, the closer
I'm
you're going
saying
to
it's
get to,
correlated, but it's not it's correlated, but it's not causational.
we can both agree that the closer a baby is born to term or whatever, the more likely it is to survive. And the earlier that you abort, the more likely it is to die. And in 100% of abortions, the outcome is designed to kill the baby. Is there an abortion
No,
designed today that's not designed to kill a baby?
yes, abortion is designed to terminate pregnancy.
Is there an abortion that's designed to terminate pregnancy and not kill the child?
Yes, like the examples that I gave you. Induction abortions, hysterotomy abortions, even C-sections are classified as abortions.
I think you've drawn a false parallel over here, because the objective of an abortion isn't to necessarily end the pregnancy, it's to end the life of the baby. You go look up the definition of an abortion. It's not to end pregnancy.
I'm using a medical definition, which is correct. It is to terminate pregnancy. That's what it's designed for. Because there are abortions that people have where the fetus has already died, but the body is just not expelling it.
You're talking about the difference between aborting and an abortion.
No, I'm talking
Yeah,
about abortion.
because
Abortion is just essentially
physicians are
where you remove
involved.
the contents of the uterus.
Physicians get involved when an abortion happens. When your body aborts your baby or whatever, it's not called an abortion.
It is. Even a
No.
miscarriage is called a spontaneous abortion. And there are times where your body fails to miscarry, which means to expel the fetus. And then you need to go in and have assisted miscarriage, which would be an abortion still. And the fetus is already dead, but you're terminating pregnancy because the fetus is still connected and not expelling from the body.
What you're missing is the intent behind the action.
No,
It's
what you're
the
not
difference between
understanding
attempted murder versus premeditated murder.
no, you just don't understand the purpose of abortion. The purpose of abortion is to terminate pregnancy.
Which results in the death of a baby in pretty much every case.
In a lot of cases, sure. But again, it's to terminate pregnancy. There are cases where the fetus has already died and pregnancy still needs to be terminated. There are cases where now the pregnancy's become dangerous and the pregnancy needs to be terminated, but the fetus lives.
The point I'm getting at is that when you kill a child, it's not good. There's nothing good to be gained from that.
When you force someone when you subjugate them to sustain pregnancy against their will, that's not good either. That's what we call torture. So yes, I don't think anyone.
If you sit there and you carve on your own arm, are you torturing yourself or did society torture you?
What?
If you're damaging your own body, are you torturing yourself or is society torturing you?
I guess you.
Exactly. The same thing with a pregnancy. Society never forced the person in question to get pregnant. Society never told that person to get pregnant.
You don't becoming pregnant is not a conscious choice.
Sure it is.
No,
how many times can people get pregnant without having sex?
How many times do people have sex and not get pregnant?
Plenty of times. But
right.
they're also not having kids.
Exactly. So it's not like you can have sex and then say, body get pregnant, body accept the embryo into my uterine wall. It does it whether you want it to or not. So no, it is not a conscious choice that you make. You can choose to engage in sex, absolutely, but the outcome of pregnancy is not fully within your control.
Sure it is.
It's not. Again,
if you engage in certain activities, then you're good. It's all about a risk assessment, all right? If you go on a hike and you wear tennis shoes, it's not a guarantee that you're going to get a sprained ankle. It's not a guarantee you're going to fall down and skin your knee. But the possibility is still there. Right. But you're not going to go complain to the government whenever you get a skin knee or sprained ankle because you decided to go wear tennis shoes climbing up a mountain.
But if you get a sprained ankle,
the idea.
Wait. But if you get a sprained ankle, you're allowed to go to the doctor, right? And receive health care.
But you're not damaging somebody else in the process.
But you're still allowed to receive health care. Just because a consequence, or I don't even like to call it a consequence.
You can go get prenatal vitamins, you can go get ultrasounds, but I'm saying you're not allowed to go and amputate your leg because you got a sprained ankle.
Well, that doesn't you have to recognize that when someone has an abortion, there are health benefits to that because pregnancy can be very dangerous and there are negative health outcomes as a consequence of that. So someone getting an abortion, I would argue, does have health benefits to them, where if they just have a sprained ankle, cutting off the leg doesn't do anything for them because the ankle will heal. Now, if they sprain their ankle and they happen to cut themselves on a rock, and then because of the sprained ankle, they couldn't walk, and then they became septic, and in order to stop the infection, we had to cut off the leg, I'm sure then you would say, yes, cut off the leg. But again, you haven't established why engaging in sex would create an obligation.
I'm not creating an obligation. You don't have to engage in sex if you don't want to get pregnant. That solves the problem right there. If you don't want to have an abortion, here's the thing.
If you are raped, can you have an abortion?
No.
So
you don't have to keep the kid. You don't have to keep the kid. That's not a prerequisite.
Agree,
I'm
but
not. I'm
again,
not
wait,
requiring.
you
I'm
don't
not
care.
requiring.
So look, there's someone who did not, with consent, engage in sex, and they still don't have access. So you really don't care if someone consented or not.
Well, of course, the person that didn't consent, obviously, the person that got graped or whatever is entitled to restitution from the person that did the graping or whatever. The person that did the graping
But
is
don't
entitled to go to
say,
prison or to get castrated or to any number of
oh,
things.
wait,
I
wait.
mean,
Okay,
I
great.
am.
All men like you say this. Great. Don't say that you have to sustain pregnancy because you had consensual sex. Because when that's not the case, you still say you have to sustain pregnancy. So just, I don't know why you bring that up, because you don't care.
What are you talking about? It's not about consent. This has
Well,
nothing
I
to
mean,
do about consent.
clearly you don't care about consent. I agree.
Pro-choice is not about consent or anything like
It
that. It's
is
about the
about
law and
consent.
it's
Yeah,
about protecting human life.
it is
I'm not saying
absolutely about
anything
consent.
positive. I'm not saying anything about consent in general. Nothing I'm saying includes consent.
You are, because you think someone should be forced. Means that it is it against their will. Where I'm saying people who want to be pregnant should consent to it. They should want to go through pregnancy willing. So yes, it is all about consent.
No, I'm saying whenever you make bad choices or whatever, you lose certain rights to
You don't care. No, you
go and say,
don't. Because getting raped is not a bad choice. That's not a choice that you made. And you still think they should sustain pregnancy.
here's an
So
example. Like criminals aren't allowed to
bullshit.
own handguns. They lose the right, the Second Amendment right
Stop
or whatever
it.
to carry handguns for doing something they
Stop
shouldn't have
it.
done.
Stop making an argument that you don't actually believe. You don't care
I'm
if
providing
someone
an
consented.
I'm providing a reference to how
No,
you
you're
can
not.
lose your consent.
You
The
don't
people the
care.
people that are criminals or whatever, they lose their right to bear arms at some point or whatever. They can
Right,
no
but you're
longer
using
own.
the philosophy. You're using the philosophy that they did something wrong. Number one, I would say women having sex is not doing anything wrong. And number two, even when women don't consent to sex, when they are a victim, clearly they've done nothing wrong. And yet you still
You
want
say
to
the
punish
vast
them.
majority of
So
women
you
are
don't
raped,
give,
or the vast
it doesn't
majority of
matter.
pregnant women are raped?
It doesn't matter. The vast majority of pregnant women don't get abortions. So don't make arguments that you actually don't believe.
Oh, of course I believe it.
No, no, you don't. You don't care if a woman is a consensual participant in sex or not. You still think she should be forced to sustain pregnancy. So quit talking about women engaging in
Think
sex
about
when it has nothing
consequence.
to do with your philosophy.
I just find it a little bit ridiculous or whatever, because you have the audacity to sit there and say, oh, well, you can go and do whatever you want, and then you can kill people on the side or whatever, but you don't care about life. You just care about one person's life. You just don't care about
I
anybody else's
think,
life outside of
I
the
think
woman.
it is laughable
It's,
that
it's pretty,
you
it's
have.
pretty, it's, you are the biggest sexist I've ever come across.
I think it is laughable that you have the audacity to come up here and tell women what to do with their bodies and that to force them to sustain pregnancy when you don't even know anything about pregnancy. You and I are trying to have a productive conversation, and you make arguments that you don't believe. You make false comparisons. Like, I honestly, I really try to engage with people in a good faith manner, even if they are uneducated, but it feels like you're below the bar. The fact that you didn't even know that pregnancy was 40 weeks and you're telling people that they have to be pregnant for almost a year is just mind blowing. Mind blowing. And then then you come up here and criticize me. Like, be for real. Honestly.
You ask any guy on the street, any one of them, not one of them that's never had a kid will be able to tell you how many weeks it takes to have a kid. Not one.
It's very fundamental. Yeah, no, you are definitely on the bottom
No,
with
it's
that.
not fundamental.
Most people, yeah, most people know that pregnancy is 40 weeks.
No, they don't. If women,
They
yes, I would
do.
agree that
They do.
women
It's
probably
a
know that, but
very,
not men.
yes. I'm sorry. You are dumb.
Okay, yeah, I'm the dumb one. I'm the one that's
You are.
forcing people to
I'm
get
sorry.
abortions or whatever.
No, my philosophy has nothing to do with force. Mine has to do
Sure.
with choice. You can either choose to have an abortion, or you can choose to be pregnant, or you can choose to be a mother. Yours has to do with force.
Do you know who initiated abortion clinics in the first place?
Who?
Margaret Sanger. Do you know when?
Really? When?
In the 1950s. And you want to know why?
Really? Really?
She was a member of
What
the.
year was
She was a
what wait. What year was Roe v. Wade?
70s, something like
Yeah.
that.
So during the 50s, was abortion illegal?
Prior to that, yeah.
So how did she institute abortion clinics if abortion was illegal?
She got it overturned, or she didn't get it overturned, or whatever. She started the abortion clinics themselves. Planned Parenthood. Maybe you've never heard of it.
I have heard of it, but come on,
Yeah,
John. Like, come
go
on.
ahead.
You can't start abortion clinics if abortion is illegal. Planned Parenthood offered other services, not abortion. It wasn't until after she died that abortion was a part of Planned Parenthood's services. So,
Do you realize that people were having doctors come to their house, like outside of hospitals, to do abortions, right?
yeah, illegal abortions, sure.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about here right now.
No, because Margaret Sanger was pro-life.
No, she was
And
not.
that's the biggest pivot I've ever heard. I don't
Margaret
care.
Sanger was also a member of the White Supremacy Act, and the reason why she instituted the Planned Parenthood.
John, we're going to talk about should abortion be illegal. We're not going to go off into these random tangents because you're uncomfortable. So please stick with the program.
Uncomfortable
Why
about
would
what?
a
This is
fetus?
all revolving around Planned Parenthood and
Why? Stop.
abortion.
Stop. Why would a fetus have the right to use someone's body against their will?
Why does that child have a right to life? Are you really asking the question
No.
that why does a child have a right to life?
No, because the right to life does not include the use of anyone else's body in order to sustain it. I can't use someone else if my kidneys are failing for dialysis. I can't take someone's blood or take someone's kidney without their permission. I need their consent.
I'm so fucking cute, bitch.